we're gonna do the WeatherHTML Advanced Guide. Now I haven't decided how I want to do this, like if I want to make multiple videos, because there's a lot to this. So I'm assuming you guys are watching this because you know the basics of WeatherHTML and you're looking to dive a little deeper into pretty much the most advanced shortcut available for iOS. And creating these themes is going to require, at least some basic knowledge of code. It can require some graphical knowledge as well, how to Photoshop and stuff like that. So there's a lot of aspects to WeatherHTML and when it comes to theming. Now, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the first video of WeatherHTML you're watching, be sure to check out the first video guide where I show you how to actually download the shortcut and how to, use themes with it. And with that being said, this is not meant for everyone. To create these themes takes time, it takes patience. It's kind of a form of art, I guess you could call it. And sometimes you just really got to get in touch with your creative side to do really cool things. Now, I think I'm an okay themer when it comes to WeatherHTML, but I think some of the other people can do a lot cooler things than me. But this is, an everlasting kind of thing. At least it has been for about a year now. And pretty much for me, the more and more I do it, the better and better at it I get. And I'm just going to hop into Discord. So of course, to get WeatherHTML, you need to be a part of the Innovation Discord channel. Also, all the themes are available here. This is where they're posted. And pretty much everything you need to know is in the Innovation Discord. Link is in the description. Anything I mention in this video, like applications or websites or anything I mention, I will leave listed in the description, so it's easier for you guys to find all that stuff. But I'm basically gonna show you an overview of everything you kind of need to know, advanced wise. At least a lot of it in this video, I hope. I probably won't touch on the graphics side, because that can really be its own video itself on how to, do layers and how to do the graphics of this kind of stuff. So we're just going to stick to the code and we're going to stick to the shortcut and the files and all that in this video. But I am using the newest version, the Maps version, and for me, the easiest way to start with theme creation is from a blank slate. Now, this really isn't the easiest and the best way to learn how this all works, but once you understand, for me, it's the easiest starting point, because normally what I have to do to get started with a theme is download someone's theme and deconstruct it to nothing. And typically the theme that I use is whatever kind of default or new theme that Eric, or aka The Way to Zion, releases. And if you guys didn't know, he is the main creator of this shortcut. There's a lot of other people that contribute to it. I'm sure you guys know who they are. But generally speaking, I take his theme and I completely deconstruct it to be nothing. Now, fortunately, we will have this blank theme posted. It should be in the FAQ at some point. So if you guys want to download a completely blank theme and start from nothing, it will be available at some point here. And like I said, this method doesn't work for everybody. This is just what works for me. This is what is easiest for me to become creative, to come up with something like you're seeing on your screen now. And the reason why it's easiest for me is because I find myself, when I get a theme, I pretty much need to start from the same point for the most part. And that's completely deconstructed to nothing and then build something from that nothing. So like I said, this is the blank deconstructed theme, and it is in my O2 WeatherHTML 2.0. Now I'm not going to show you guys, how to navigate to this file system, because this is really more for advanced people. So if you're lost, then maybe you need to watch the first video, or maybe this just isn't for you. This is not for everyone. I'll just mention that. So I got my blank theme here, and I like to keep one blank theme. So generally speaking, when Eric releases the newest version of a theme that has all of the newest features, I grab that theme and then I begin deconstructing it. And that's what this is, like I've mentioned a couple times. So what I like to do once I have a blank theme is I like to keep a blank theme, because I don't want to make this the new theme and then I have lost a deconstructed theme, meaning I have to deconstruct another theme, which is a waste of time. So we be smart. All we got to do is duplicate it. So now we have two blank themes, and this blank theme, what I can do is begin making it a new theme, and we'll just name it random. I'm not going to make this an actual theme. I've been thinking that, maybe I will do a video where I actually create a theme in a video, and you guys can kind of see the thought process, what goes through my head, I guess you could say, when creating a theme. It would probably be a very long theme, because I think, or a very long video rather, because I think with this theme here that you guys are seeing, this one took me quite a few hours to kind of fine tune and to mod a previous theme that I made to get it to look like this. And it just takes time, because you have to figure out what you want to use, where you want to put it, how you want it to look, what kind of font you want to use, and just a whole bunch of stuff. What kind of color palette do you want? But anyways, so I have a blank theme that I can begin creating at this point, which is just IDM YouTube. And I'll enable this theme in a second, and you guys will see what I mean by blank. But a little quick tip before we get into that, if you guys are going to be doing this, one of my biggest recommendations is a quick push start button for WeatherHTML, regardless if it's for the home screen or the lock screen. Just because this will save you quite a bit of time. It helps you not have to go into the Shortcuts app to then run the shortcut, to then exit the app. So this, you can literally just click on your home screen and it will run the shortcut. I did show this, I think, way back on another advanced video, so I do recommend that. And if you guys need to know how to set up that shortcut, it's really easy. Just do plus in your shortcuts, add action, scripting, scroll down until you see run shortcut. So run shortcut right here. And then you choose the shortcut, so whatever one you're going to be doing, lock screen or home screen. I'm doing home screen. At this point, you can click the settings button in the upper right, and then you can do add to home screen, and then you can choose, an icon that matches your theme, or whatever you want, really. I generally match them to my theme, and if you guys are curious, this theme is by Bulldog. On Twitter, it is called Vibe. I'll leave his Twitter handle link in the description. Like I said, everything will be in the description. But I've already created this shortcut, so I'm not going to create it again. I'm actually just going to get rid of it. But I do keep it there. That's what WeatherHTML Quick is. I keep it in my shortcuts, so that way when I create a new setup with maybe a different icon theme, I still have the shortcut here, so when I hop in here, I can just quickly go ahead and add it to the home screen with a new icon that matches whatever new theme I'm using. So that is a big tip to add that shortcut. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Also, I guess I'll cover quickly the automation, just because it's super easy. If you have, battery information or weather information, basically anything you want updated periodically throughout the day so that you can see the battery percentage change or weather conditions, you can automate WeatherHTML to do this. I would consider this kind of more of a basic thing, but I'll show you guys one for example. It's not going to run on its own. So once you run the shortcut, that's the information that stays there for eternity until you either change your wallpaper or run the shortcut again. But like I said, you can automate it by clicking plus create personal automation, and you choose time of day at the top there, and then you pick what time you want it to run. So let's say I usually get up at 6 a.m. So let's say I want it to run at 6 a.m. I can do that. I'm going to leave it on daily. I'm going to click next. And then the action again is scripting. Scroll down to run shortcut. Just like that. Choose the shortcut you want to run. So we'll do WeatherHTML home screen. Next, and then make sure you shut off ask before running. You don't want it to do that because then it won't do it in the background. But you just do that, and now I have it automated to run at 6 a.m. every morning of the week. And then I could, of course, add more times to this. I could do every hour. I could do every other hour. I could do a couple of times a day. It just kind of depends on how frequent you want it updated. Now, I have had this automated to be about every 30 minutes throughout the day, at least the day that I'm awake, which is generally about 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And there's really not much of any impact on battery, so don't worry about that. Like I said, I haven't noticed any impact on my battery, and I had it running every 30 minutes. But that's a lot of automation, so maybe you might want to stick to like every hour. Okay, now that we got some of the basics out of the way, let's start doing some stuff with the shortcut and the file system, so that you guys can see what it's all about. So obviously in O2 WeatherHTML 2.0, this is where all of your themes are housed. Of course, you have to download themes and move them here and unzip them. And then the way I like to enable it is I think there's a quick way you can just double tap the name, click copy. That's kind of the quickest way to do it there. And then we can jump into shortcuts, and we need to edit the theme name within the shortcut nowadays, which is freaking awesome. So much easier. So we'll paste it in just like that. IDM YouTube. And like I said, this is a blank theme. So if I run this shortcut now, you guys will see it's basically nothing. And for me, that's where I like to start. Like I said, I don't really like to start with someone else's theme, just because I always find myself deconstructing it and spending like an hour or two deconstructing it and churning everything off and all of that. So there you go. There is a blank theme. That's really all it is. It's just a dark gray background. Pretty much that's it. But to begin with this, let's go ahead and hop into the actual files of the theme, and I'll try to explain what each section is here, and I'll do my best to also put timestamps in the description to help you guys if you're looking to figure out one thing, to hop in here and just jump to that time. But like I said, a little bit of code knowledge is going to be required. It's not 100% necessary. You can learn from starting at this, but you may make mistakes. And just remember that if you're in here making edits to things and you make a mistake, the likelihood that we're going to be able to, like figure out what it is in the support channel is pretty much a headache. So if you mess up and you break something with the theme, a lot of times your best bet is to just start over, because for us to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out what you did to your theme is really kind of a waste of time when you could just delete it and start over. So just take note, you have to do everything almost perfectly in here. But you can see there's a config JavaScript, so we're going to go ahead and open this up in Kodex. Kodex is a free app from the App Store. It allows you to edit code, lines of code, as you guys can see here. And the config is kind of the main controller, I guess you could say, of the theme. Meaning from here, you can pretty much make some simple edits to things, like this is where your username is found, where you can show different elements like your profile pic. You can change the clock format from 12 to 24 hour. You can change your date formats. You can use custom font, forecast, daily and hourly, weather walls. All of this controls kind of different areas of the theme and either turns them off or on. And the easiest way to remember, 0 means off and 1 means on. So as you can see, this is a blank theme, so pretty much everything is just turned off in here. And that's how I like to start, because I like to bring everything in as I need it rather than to take things away if I don't need it, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of things you can control in here, and I don't want to go over everything because you pretty much just need to look at it and you can kind of figure out what it is just by reading it. So let's hop back to the file system and let's get into, I guess we could open up CSS. So we have custom fonts here. This is where you input your custom fonts that you want to use, and then your style. So let's open up style because there's a lot to style. Again, we're going to open this up in Kodex, and you can have multiple files open in here, which is cool. So I can have the config right there and the style, and I can jump between them if needed. Now in the style, a good summary of everything that's in here, you can see there's kind of like a table of contents at the top there. You have your backgrounds and overlays, current location, add your custom divisions, and a bunch of other stuff. And you can kind of go through here and you can see what each element is. Now style is like what it says. It allows you to stylize these different elements, change their position or their color or the size or a lot of things. And the interesting thing is that even in, let's say, the style, if it says like visible for the weather wall, the config is hierarchy. So if it's off in the config, so if weather walls is off here, it will not show because, like I said, this is kind of your main controller and this is more of your stylizing. Now, some things in the style are not controlled by config, and also there is some confusing things here. Let me try and hunt it down and give you an example. Sometimes, you know, you have to have multiple things on in the config in order for it to show through the style or be enabled, basically. And let's see here, use day-night background. If I can remember where the calendar. So I think it is, I'm trying to hunt it down. It is the daily forecast. I think I was at that towards the top. Yeah. So daily forecasts. So you have your daily forecasts here, and this, if we turn this on, or let's see, where's the, I know there's bars in here somewhere, right there. Show daily bars. So if you turn this to 1, which means on, it still isn't going to turn on. You also have to have show daily forecast on as well, because that is considered or hourly forecast, I believe. Daily or hourly, I can't remember, but one of these two is hierarchy than the bars. So just because it's on here doesn't mean it's going to display. Daily forecast has to be on as well. And then if it's visible in the style, it should show. So it is a bit confusing, and some of this stuff you might have to really play around with a bit to figure out what does what. And that's just the way it is. But like I said, some of it is controlled in weird ways. Some of it is not controlled at all by the config. So just take note on that. But basically what the style is it's a bunch of different elements, and below that is what you want to do to its styling. Now, this is not limited to the options that you see here. You can add more options to it or remove options from it. So if we go to, let's just say, line like 500, and if you didn't know, on the right, you can drag along the screen and it will allow you to scroll through a lot quicker. So like for the date, there is no color option. The date is going to be displayed as text. So if you wanted to add a color option, you can literally just add it by putting in, that, and then putting in a hex code, like, I don't know, something like this, something like that. You can add things into it, and there's a lot of things you can add, there's things you can remove. So just take note that you're not limited to the style by what's already there. You can add and subtract things from it. But in a nutshell, I don't want to go too crazy on individual elements in here. Some of these things you'll just have to turn on to see what they do. But usually, for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory, like your custom 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Then you got your date 1, date 2, date 3. You have your current weather condition icon, your current temperature for your location, what it feels like, the feels like text, the description. So is it cloudy? Is it sunny? Is it partly cloudy? So on and so forth. Highs, lows. And then you have, forecasting and RSS feeds and all of that stuff. There's a lot in the style. Like I said, you will probably start to learn what line of code is where and to make adjustments and whatever it is you're working on. But that's a good brief overview of the style. just so you guys know what's going on there. You also have custom HTML here. This is where you can put in custom, I believe it's pronounced divisions. I actually am not a coder, believe it or not. I have no schooling, at least, but I believe div is division, divided maybe, something like that. It's divided or division, but you have your own divisions here of certain things, like custom 2 set by JavaScript, custom 3 is today, custom 4 is now, custom 7 Eric. Like you can change these pretty much, and you can enable the custom, which is in the style. So there's also, like precipitation text. Obviously, this is not precipitation for me. This is in a different language. So if I was going to use the precipitation text or the precipitation amount, I would change this to be whatever it is in my language. Same as visibility and wind speed and stuff like that. So that's what your custom HTML is. It allows you to customize certain things. You have your fonts folder here. We have no custom fonts. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And now the big folder of images. Now, to explain the way this works, because a big question people generally have is how to change the background of a theme. And sometimes that can be really straightforward and easy, but other times it is not, because there are many different layered options for images here. You have your background. You have background that will be displayed at night. You have a layer blank there. You have an overlay 1 that is displayed at night, an overlay 2 that is displayed at night, overlay 3, and an overlay 3 that is displayed at night. Now, technically speaking, any of the backgrounds or overlays could be used as a wallpaper, essentially, for a theme. But, the idea here is that you can have multiple layers of images to pull off different types of effects with the theme, which is incredibly useful for themes that come with the battery bar, and there's cutouts in that overlay and it displays the battery bar in a really cool way, or something like that. Or like one of my previous themes where I have basically a window in the widget, and those backgrounds that I'm using are not even the wallpaper that is being used. It is technically just the little windowed view, and then I'm using an overlay as the background. Now, aside from the backgrounds and the overlays, there's also timed walls. So these are wallpapers that are displayed at certain times that you can use. So afternoon, evening, morning, etc. There is also weather-based walls. So this is kind of like weather icons, but these are obviously wallpapers, and you can have it cut off like this, or you could have it, the entire screen or the entire, image area. And then you have your normal weather icons here, as you can see. And there is even icons current now, which is pretty crazy. We have weather overlays. So weather condition overlays, you guys will see these towards the top of my screen. So these change depending on what your current weather conditions are, which is pretty cool. So basically, you can use any of these tools in your theme to really get crazy with it. Now, you don't need to have all of these enabled at once. I am pretty simple with the themes I make, and I keep them very minimal. And I usually don't use everything that's at my disposal, because you could clutter things up and it won't look good. You can use all of this, but you don't have to use all of this. You can pick and choose what you want to be used in your theme. Just take note, these are all image tools at your disposal that you could use to make your theme look really freaking cool, that will change based on weather or time, and it's pretty cool. So that's the images section. And then we have the JavaScript here. I don't really mess with this too much. The only thing I really mess with is the main JavaScript. You can customize a one of your custom options to have multiple things in it. So if we share this with Kodex here, this is pretty much the main JavaScript, hence the name main.js. But at the bottom of this JavaScript, this is pretty much the only spot that I do stuff. And down here, you can, make things custom. Like you can see custom 7 is being controlled. This is pretty advanced stuff, I would say. I'm not going to really do much with this, but just take note that some of my themes I do use, use this to customize the. It's really hard to explain. So in one of my themes, where on the bottom it says my current location, Madison, and then the description, cloudy, and then the temperature as one string connected together as the same text. So basically I tied those different elements together, and I did that within the main JavaScript at the bottom. So just take note, there's probably not much you'll have to do in this section, except for if you get really crazy with it. Towards the bottom here, you can, change some things. So just take note on that. But in a nutshell, that is mostly everything we're working with. So let's kind of tinker with this a little bit, so that you guys can see, how it kind of works and how I use it, because that's my main goal here, is to kind of show you how I like to do it. I don't think this is necessarily the easiest way to create a theme. This is just the easiest way for me personally. So when it comes to fonts, I like to use dafont.com to download fonts. And I'm just going to do one here real quick. Apparently I clicked, not sure what I clicked. We'll go back to the top there. And let's do, Game of Squids. We'll click on download. We will download the font. I will open it in, save to files. And I've been saving it in Fonts New because I have so many fonts in my fonts folder that I'm losing track where things are. But in Fonts New, I'll just click save. And this is how you can change a font if you guys want to know that. So we can hop back into files. Now we need to exit back out of shortcuts, iOS weather, and go into Fonts New. And what was the name of that one? Game of Squids. Right there. So we'll just unzip it. Let's see what we're working with. So we got Game of Squids, OTF, and TTF. When you have two options, OTF is the newer version. They basically do the same thing, but if there's an option of OTF or TTF, I like to use the OTF option, just my personal preference. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to simply copy the font, and now I'm going to add this into my theme. So shortcuts, iOS weather, O2 weather, and we're doing the ID on YouTube. So fonts. So you just paste your font in here into fonts. Now you also need to tell the theme that this is going to be a font that you're going to use. And to do this, I like to double tap the name, copy the name, and we just got to remember, is it TTF or OTF? So it is OTF. And then in the CSS here, there is custom fonts. So to do this, we do share, open Kodex, and then I just like to add in the new font, and it's a .otf. So now we have added a font to our theme, and it is usable now within the style. So I guess let's get something enabled here. Let's get like date 1 enabled. I'm going to put my cursor there so I don't lose my position. But we'll go into the config and let's see what the date 1 is. So let's change date 1 to be a different format, and I like that format where it'll just say the day. And I believe there is an option maybe to show date 1. Actually, no, I think that's completely controlled in style. Yeah, it is, because this is hidden. So we're going to change it to visible, just like that. Opacity is set to 0. So there's other things that can make it hidden as well. Obviously, opacity is how see-through it is. 0 means it's completely see-through. And like I said, with these different styles, you don't have to have something if you don't necessarily need to use it. So I can just delete the opacity out just like so. And we should be able to run the shortcut now, and it will display the day of the week now that I have enabled that. And there we go, it says Wednesday. It's not in a good position, but it's there. So let's hop back into, not our files, let's hop back into the style, and let's do some more styling. So you have your, positioning, your text alignment, which is pretty self-explanatory. Your top and left is your positioning on your screen. So all the way at the very top of your iPhone up at the notch, that is 0%. And all the way at the very bottom by the swipe bar, that is 100%. And then for left and right, all the way to the left of your screen is 0%, and all the way to the right of your screen is 100%. So with that being said, you can move these percentages and it will move the element around on your screen. Now I've noticed for some reason that text alignment doesn't like to work unless you have defined your screen size. So I'm gonna do that real quick. So we're gonna say height is 100%, and then we will close that out. And then I'm gonna say the width is also 100%, and I'm gonna close that out. Now I'm going to change my alignment of the text. And this is just like a text editor. Do you want the text to align from the left, the center, or the right? Well, for styling purposes, we'll make it in the center. Now I also want to put this text in the very middle of my iPhone. So to do this, I'm going to say this will be 50%. And then since we're working with the width 100%, I don't want to move it to the left 5%. I want to keep it centered. So I think I could remove left here, or I can just put 0% so it doesn't mess with it. I also want to use Game of Squids font. So to do that, we have to define that with the font family. And like I said, there's a lot of different styling you can do. You can do outlining and stuff like that. So font family. Now we're going to go ahead and put this symbol in here. And let me hop into the custom font. And I'm just going to copy it from there so I don't have to type it out. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, if I can click it here, paste like that with that symbol at the end, and close it out. So we did some styling here to the date one. Let's take a look at what kind of changes we've made to just the word Wednesday. And remember, I'm making edits to literally one element within a lot. I don't even know how many elements are in there to make edits to, but there's a lot. Okay, we have made a mistake because the font did not change, so let's hop back in there. But it did move, and it's positioned in the middle, and it looks good. So I'm not sure why. I must have made a mistake here. So font family, Game of Squids. It doesn't like that. And I know why, because in the config, we have an option to use custom fonts, and that is currently turned off. So one means yes. Now let's check out the new font. And this is probably a very long video, so if you're still here chilling, you really want to learn how to use WeatherHTML, that's for sure. Okay, so for some reason we still do not have a custom font. So I must have made a mistake somewhere. And a lot of this, it can be trial and error if you're not like super good at coding like I am. Like I managed to figure it out as I go. But if you were to ask me, like, what are all the different styling options you can use for these, I don't have them all memorized. It looks like we have an error maybe going on with it. So when that happens, you have to go into the Shortcuts application and run it there, because in the Shortcuts app, it will show you if there is an error, but on the home screen, it does not. It just kind of quits the progress and no changes are being made. Okay, so we have an issue here. The file sfpro_display_regular.ttf couldn't be opened because there is no such file. Okay, that's true. There is not. So what we need to do is we need to go into the custom fonts, and that's not there. So we need to tell it that it's not there by deleting it. And then I like to just clean this up a little bit. All right, and we should have figured out what our problems were. And now at this point, it will finally display our game of squids. Hopefully, fingers crossed. There you go. And that's pretty large text. It takes up the entire screen, but there we go. We have began stylizing it. Now, once you have something in your head, you can really start to fine tune it. So I want to put it down a little bit further. I feel like 50% is a little too high on the screen. So let's bump it down to like 65%. I also feel like the font is too big. So let's make the font smaller, like 8. Let's see what that does. I have a striking suspicion that it'll probably look a little bit better being a little bit more centered below my icons on the screen. Hey, look at that. It looks pretty cool. And you can do these things for a lot of stuff, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, this is just date 1 that I'm still tinkering with. We have date 2, date 3, so on and so forth. We have icons, temperatures, feels like, description. Now, what's cool is, let's say you come up with a really cool style for date 1 that you like. You can basically, and I do this from time to time, is I copy all of the style that I've added to it. I just copy it, and then let's say we want to use that for date 2. Literally just select all of the lines there. And let me do this just like so. We'll paste it in. So now whatever date 2 is set up, it's going to have all of the same style properties that date 1 has. So let's go into the config and see what date 1 is. So that's day. So let's change that. Let's do like day, month, year, something like that. Maybe even, let's do it like that. Now, since we copied all of the same style as date 1 or date 2, oh wait, I'm getting these backwards, ain't I? It doesn't matter. Regardless, they both have the same styling properties, so that means that their position is going to be the same. So that means that one of them, or basically they're going to be overlapping each other. Now you can control this with z-index. Z-index is, it's basically its layer index. 0, obviously 1 is going to be a higher layer than 0. So on and so forth. Layer 2 is higher than 1 and 0. So that's your z-index. What do you want to be on the top? And I think you could put any value here you want, but there's no need to go like, I couldn't imagine you'd ever need to do 100 or anything like that. But you can layer things with the z-index. But let me see what I got going on in the config here. So date 1 is now going to be day, month, year. Date 2 is the date text. So let me hop back in here. And I'm going to move date 1 down, so a little bit further, let's say 70%. And I'm also going to make the font a bit smaller. and we copied most of the style over, and let's see what happens on the screen now. And once you start getting, your style set up, you can start to kind of copy and paste them around to speed things up for other elements, and it really all begins to just kind of fall together. And there we go. That looks kind of cool. Even though I have Wednesday twice, but still, nonetheless, it's pretty neat looking. And you can see from here, this is where you can really begin creating a setup. From just something like this, you can start, building image layers to have like, the effect of a widget behind it or something like that. Or, do some fun stuff with the wallpaper. And this is, I think, going to be mainly it for kind of my advanced introduction into WeatherHTML. And like I said, I have no experience with code other than jailbreak widgets before getting into this. And if you've ever messed with jailbreak widgets, it's pretty much the same thing. So once I went from jailbreak widgets to this, I felt right at home. But like I said, I don't have any knowledge. I don't have any schooling of code. I have not gone to school for code ever. So this is all kind of self-taught. And I might not know all of the proper terms of everything, but I have a general idea of how it all functions and kind of ties together. So hopefully this video helped you out. Like I said, I might do more of these and get a little bit crazier with it, where maybe I actually create a theme completely on video for you guys from start to finish, and less explanation and more just doing. And you guys can see that in action. And I also do have plans of doing some videos on Pixelmator, because so many people ask how to do lots of different things with images, and in my opinion, WeatherHTML and the code side of things is only half of it. There is the whole graphic design side of things, and that kind of goes hand in hand with creating these WeatherHTML themes, being able to do things graphically. And you can see these are the layers that I have created for the theme that you guys have seen. You can see here, these are multiple layers, basically just stacked on top of each other. I have some things underneath right now because people requested that I send out this wallpaper without the icon shadows or underlays. And that's just all done right on my iPhone from Pixelmator, so you guys can see there. So like I said, I might do a video on Pixelmator independently and show you guys how I use that. But hopefully this first kind of guide helps you guys understand what you're in stores for when it comes to creating themes for WeatherHTML. It is very time consuming. There is a lot of trial and error. There is a lot of learning that's going to go on unless you're pretty advanced with code. And yeah, that's gonna be basically it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, definitely throw me a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot here at the channel. And if you guys want to see more videos like this in the future, don't forget to click that subscribe button. This has been IDM, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.